Hey, I'm ChrisUX. I'm the founder of the Spy Agency here in Atlanta, Georgia. And here are 5 tips to keep in mind when working on your UX portfolio. Tip number 1, have real projects in your portfolio, real clients in your portfolio. I know you may be fresh out of boot camp or fresh out of your certification program or whatnot, but after that, definitely get some real projects. All right, and then you'll be like, well, how do I get real projects? Glad you asked. Uh, for me, when I was in boot camp, I wasn't gonna real clients while I was in boot camp. I was just really extra motivated just to be the best designer I can be. But here in Atlanta, we had like different startup pitching events. You know, we had one called Startup Oasis. It was a really good event they have every month. We had different startups that pitch, and most of these startups are just starting out, and most of these startups need a UX designer. Offer your services in exchange for building a case study. Most of you might have a friend who might have a side hustle or a side business. I'm pretty sure they need some type of UX, some UX work as well. Like it could be for Etsy shop, or they could be selling clothes on the side, like Shopify or whatnot. Somewhere, there's problems everywhere that you can solve as a UX designer and build a case study. Yeah, so I remember going to a tech conference about a year or so ago, talking to a recruiter from Microsoft, and she was honest. She told me like, most recruiters don't like pushing up candidates fresh out of boot camp, for roles, not even for entry level roles. It is what it is. So definitely get some real projects in your portfolio. And another thing too, the real projects gonna make you a much better designer, much faster than any class would have anyway. So this is also a great way to enhance your skills as a designer, because when you're in a boot camp or whatnot, it's the same design process that he's walking you through. But if you deal with real clients with real problems, every problem requires a different solution. Every problem has a different process to solve it. So it's to your advantage to have real work in your portfolio. It will make you a better designer. It will make you more confident as a designer too when you're applying for roles. Tip number 2, explain your process thoroughly but plainly. Make sure your case studies are easy to understand, because you're building a portfolio for mainly 2 people: the recruiter and the hiring manager. And the recruiter, they go into your portfolio probably like in 30, even 45 seconds. They're just flying through it, looking for different keywords. And then, of course, the hiring manager maybe go into your case study a little bit more thoroughly. But sometimes you may have a recruiter where they want to do like a short interview with you for like 15, 20 minutes, and they may ask you present a case study to them, and they want to see your process. Yeah, so if you can explain your case study, if you can explain your case study of how you define your problem, your process to solving it, and they understand it, then that's a good case study, because it should be easy to understand. You know, now if for some reason go over their head, then you had to go back and make some changes to your case study, because it's not them, as you, because they got to be able to, in most cases anyway, they got to be able to understand it. What you did, because once they understand it and know how you solved it, it made them more comfortable with them pushing you up for the job. So it makes sense. So make sure it's thorough but plain. Make sure you keep it simple. Don't overthink it. Tip number 3, the art of presenting your case study. Now, of course, I say you got to be thorough with your case study, but at the same time, it's an art to how you present it, because you have to think about it. People that are interviewing you for this role, they're interviewing many candidates, and I'm pretty sure they get bored. They might hear some of the same stories and same flow of the case study. So, the art of presenting a case study is the art of storytelling. So make sure you're thorough about it, but make sure it's entertaining. I know it sounds crazy, but you don't want to bore them to death. And by you being entertaining with your case study, it more likely they remember you as well. So um, make sure it's entertaining. Make sure you have a good flow to it, and share the good and the bad of that case study, because as you're working with clients, it doesn't always go well. You're gonna have some bad clients, and that's fine. So you explain that. You explain the roadblocks that you had and how you solved it, or how you wasn't able to solve it, or how you bump heads with somebody on your team, how you bump heads with a stakeholder, how do you convince them to accept your solution? Like, it shows them the ins and out of it, because if you just explaining your case study of, hey, what's the problem, this was my design process, and this is a solution, you know, it's not going to stand out. And then in most job interviews, they're going to ask you, You know, how do you handle, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, Opposition. You know, how you handle something goes. I can't think of the word right now, but how do you handle a bad situation? So by you answering that through your case study, you're already ahead of the curve anyway, because it's going to happen, you know, in real life. Tip number 4, play to your strengths as a UX designer. I know you see some of these job descriptions and you feel like you got to be a master of UX design just to get entry level role, and you're trying to prove that you can do everything in UX. You know, don't try so hard with that. Play to your strengths. Every designer have a strength. They do something better than they do something else. Like you may have a UX designer who's really good at UI design. Yeah, they can do research, but they're really good at Figma, you know, or making prototypes and wireframes. You may have someone who's really good at research and, you know, not so good at the designing part. You may be a designer who's really good at presenting the information. Whatever your strength is, play to your strengths, you know, and make that shine. And also, by you knowing your own strength as a designer, uh, think about that when you're applying for different roles too. So, you know, as you read through these job descriptions and looking up these companies, make sure it's a fit for you as well. Tip number 5, the most important tip. Make sure you're actually solving the problem. Like every solution isn't a website redesign or a app redesign. You know, that's not always the case. I know, like, you know, when I'm freelancing for an spy agency, a lot of our clients' problems is had nothing to do with the website or app. I mean, usually it's a lot of issues before you even get to that point. It could be the workflow, and the workflow of it. They targeting their own user. It's like it's so many things. It could be a marketing issue. It could be a million other things. It's not always, you know, an app or a website issue. So sometimes it is, which is fine. But just make sure in your portfolio it show a variety of problems that you're solving, and it's not all the same thing. You work with different people, it won't be the same problems. You're gonna have different solutions in there, and it's going to diversify your portfolio that much better anyway. So definitely just make sure you solving the problem, whether it's a marketing issue, a checkout issue, research issue, like whatever the case may be. Just make sure you're actually solving the problem for that business. But yeah, I hope you find the video insightful. Like, share, subscribe. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn under ChrisUX. Thanks for watching.